whatever happened to the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification? This is a movement that True Father made when he was alive. He had incredible expectation for this. But to answer this question, we need to, I think, go back into the 70s. In the 70s, it was a thriving church. I remember when I joined around that time, people loved to witness, reach out and teach divine principle. And people were joining. People were giving up their careers, their studies. Many of them were giving those things up and become full-time members. There was incredible desire at that time. And but then we get to about the 90s, an hierarchy formed. The church took the form of an hierarchy. And then many members joined, became leaders. They had a kind of a career mindset. They treated the movement like a career. So we saw different positions. There were higher positions, became higher salaries. And became a place where you can get something from that. And I felt it was very sad. And because of this, the desire to witness and teach, that gradually disappeared. And I can really see this. I couldn't see it at the time, but I can see it on hindsight. This is a terrible situation that was happening. And many people joined. It was a place to giving something. People inspired by the idea, like myself. But the Messiah's on the earth. We want to share his word, teach it. The Messiah's on the earth. Not to get something materially, but actually give. Often give our own. But it became a place of taking, unfortunately. And I noticed that many leaders from the 90s onwards, they became leaders. And after they left their positions or whatever reason, they start coming to church. And it's very sad, actually. So where did all this energy dry up? This desire to witness and teach? Because it became a leader-centered movement. A leader told me once, you only teach divine principle to get people to join the movement. But that's not the case in the past. In the 70s, there was divine principle seminars for members, which we always need. The divine principle was our guiding thought, True Father's words. But it's disappeared. Even the workshops, there used to be 2-day workshop, it became 1 days. 7 days became 5 days. And then 21 days disappeared. I can see many members even today, the divine principle has not been studied as it was in the 70s. So this is a very sad situation. And I think Satan's behind this. Because Satan's idea is always to separate people from God's words. Way back in Adam and Eve case, the serpent, Satan, downplayed the importance of God's word. He didn't say not to follow it. He said, did God say you will not eat when you eat the fruit? And he just downplayed its importance. And he caused Eve to reject God's words, not to take them seriously. Even in the Bible, in Jesus' words, the substance of the word came. And actually what happened, then the church took over, the Catholic Church at that time took over, and they separated people from the Messiah's words. And for 1500 years we didn't have the Bible in everyday language. We had the Pope's words. They separated us from the Messiah's words. And I see the similar situation happening today in the Family Federation. Sadly enough, then we have True Father's words. He left the 8 great textbooks, like for example the Chun Seung Young book and Divine Principle. But these have been tampered with as we speak. A new Chun Seung Young book was made, despite Father saying never touch or change his words. The leaders said, oh, it's just to polish Father's words to remove repetitions. But that was a lie. That was an absolute lie. They removed substantial portions of Father's words that would have contradicted Hak Chan's new theology she's making of herself. So we have substantial parts of Father's words gone. For example, the content of page 1179, gone. Content of page 1141 in the original Sun Myung Moon book, gone in the new book. Pages 2530, gone. And pages 117, 125, they're gone. And much more. They removed these parts, these sections of Father's words, and left out of the new Sun Myung Moon book that shouldn't even exist. But worse than that, they lied about it. And we believed it. Thanks to Hyung Jin Nim, who noticed it, he spoke out and challenged Hakchahan, challenged his mother, saying, you can't change Father's words. Her response was to kick him out. It says total disregard for Father's words. And we have a new Sun Myung Moon book, use the same title, deliberately, because then they have an excuse why they don't print the original book. So we have true Father's words erased. And that's where the Family Federation is gone, basically is going. They've even changed the name. They changed the name that Father gave it, the Family Federation for World Peace. And they call a new name now Holy Parents, Heavenly Community. But how can you change a name that the Messiah gave to it? If Jesus gave a name to a church, do you think Christians would change it? Who would have the arrogance to think they have a better name than the Messiah at that time? So this is the real situation, I feel, and unfortunately it's become a leader-centered movement. A leader once told me that the most important thing is to follow your able. So that kind of thinking, your higher able, a long list of ables, you're just totally cut off from the Messiah. You're just following your able, whatever he thinks. But you need actually a direct relationship with the Messiah. That's what Father wanted. And that's the same with Jesus. But actually we can see Satan's strategies to cut off people from the Messiah's words. Cut off from the Messiah. The Catholic Church, up until the Reformation, cut off people from Jesus' words. For 1500 years, we couldn't read Jesus' words directly. And then now, Hakchahan and the corrupt leaders are taking steps to separate us from Father's words in subtle ways, by making their own books, removing parts they don't like. This is totally unacceptable. So this is not the movement that Father created. This movement has been hijacked by them. And this needs to be known. So many members have no idea of this. But if you compare the two Sun Myung Moon books, you will find out clearly. Those pages I mentioned, there's many more. And so, even when Father's alive, when Preston Moon, he left, he took millions of dollars of property from the movement, sadly. But then many members followed him. Reverend Quark, Mr. Kamiyama, and many others. But this is a shock for many people. Why would they do this? Why would they want to take from the movement? And this, because of the downtrodden, Satan gradually caused them to separate from Father's words, become more and more distant from Father's words. And that's why we become a movement uneducated. We don't understand divine principle. Many members don't even know that, don't study it. And that's why the setting was ripe for Hakchahan to suddenly come in now after 2012 and 13 after Father died and create a new theology the Father didn't believe in at all. And they didn't know any better, they just could believe it. But anyone who really studied divine principle or Father's words would understand that's totally against Father's teaching. So, and that also explains why when Father clearly said in his lifetime on many occasions that Hyung Jin Nim is his heir and successor, he said that any other person other than Hyung Jin Nim who takes that position is a heretic and one who would destroy the movement. And that's exactly happened. After Father died, instead of passing over to Hyung Jin Nim, Hakchahan took the position. And that's why it's crumbling. with his crazy ideas are developing. Our theologies get more and more bizarre as we speak. She even said to an audience of many Christians that time that the cause of the fall was not sexual sin, but was greed. But why would you say that? The Messiah's mission is to save people, to remove the original sin. So it only makes sense if you understand that the fall is sexual. That was totally misleading. And it really goes to show that Hakchahan and the crop leaders want to change the movement. Instead of a movement of saving people's lives that Father wanted and established, it's a movement to just a popular movement. So he removed any challenging things, challenging concepts. But when you do that, then it loses purpose. It's no longer Father's movement. When you're teaching greed is the cause of the fall, that's a lie. It's a falsity. The blessing has no more meaning. So Hyung Jin Nim is the heir and successor. Hakchahan should have encouraged him to take his position, but she didn't. She kicked him out, and that was the downfall of this movement. So luckily, gratefully, that Hyung Jin Nim started the sanctuary church that has the purpose to protect and preserve Father's words and traditions. Hakchahan already said on at least 2 occasions that she plans to update the divine principle. But how can you update the divine principle? That's Father's words. No one has the right to touch or change that. When you update a book, you're making another book. So this is a very serious situation. So I really hope that many Family Fed members who are maybe watching this, they really think about these things seriously and ask themselves why the movement's gone that way. If they really do believe in true Father, they should follow Father's words. And Father's direction was to follow Hyung Jin Nim, his heir and successor. That's the most important thing at this time. Being a heir and successor means, the heir means Hyung Jin Nim inherits his position, including the assets, and his foundation. And being a successor means he succeeds his mission as the Messiah. So the true Father would be working through Hyung Jin Nim of his time. True Father always said that out of love, life and lineage is the most important thing. Lineage, because he needs to establish God's lineage on the earth. Who's going to give the blessings? It has to be someone from his lineage. And that was Hyung Jin Nim. Only Hyung Jin Nim has the authority to give the blessing. And we need the blessing from Hyung Jin Nim. We need the blessing you received from 2013 onwards. I'm sad to say that's a fake blessings that Hyung Jin Nim, that Hakchahan gave. You need Hyung Jin Nim's blessing. Anyway, I really feel now we need to get back and learn from the mistakes of the past. We need to study Father's words, not Hakchahan's words. You should study the original Cheonseonggyung book, not the fake one that Hakchahan made. It's a tampered with, worthless book. And study the divine principle and all of Father's words. And I thank you for taking this time to listen to me. Thank you very much.